Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No, thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. By using our link, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. So, Naz, as a therapist on BetterHelp, what has your experience been like?
I've been doing it since January 2021, and it's been really fun and exciting. I've been able to reach clients all over the United States and the world. I've had good relationships. I've had folks that I've had for a couple months and a good handful where I've had for almost 2 years now. So it's magnificent. I've enjoyed my time and my clients. I love them.
Awesome. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel the most comfortable. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/DSP or choose Different Spectrums podcast during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Hey everybody, we back again.
Hey, we're back. We're live.
I'm Spencer. Of course, we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
Dr. Burrito Style Nas.
Burrito style Naz.
It's a new
What does
kink.
that even mean?
It's a new kink. Burrito style.
You wrap your meat in a tortilla.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, remember, hey, don't take us too seriously.
Or dude, that's completely up to you.
There we go. Also, don't forget to wrap us like stress. We'd really appreciate it. So, today, first off, shout out to Cure Hydration. Hydrate with all these hydration packs. You pour them into your water. You get flavors, all different types of flavors. They taste delicious, and you get hydrated at the same time. Do it.
It's wonderful stuff. Great hydration, 0 calorie, not all the sugars.
Also, use our code DSP or DSP10 to get 10% off your entire order today.
Yep.
So, go for it. So today we are covering the podcast Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe.
I just think of shea butter. That's not racist.
Sure, it's not. We're specifically doing the episode, of course, with Amanda Seales, who stirring up some controversy here on the internets.
Yeah.
Yes. Some things we're going to be talking about. Self-diagnosis. We're talking about a little bit of sensitivity in there. Talking about how we kind of spot people with autism. That sounds predatory, but you know what? It's fine. And then also, talking about what it means to be black and autistic.
Yeah.
Or at least brown and autistic. Let's go with that. Black, brown, and autistic.
You got a little bit of melanin.
A little bit of cocoa butter.
Look, I was talking to a new guest that we're going to have in a podcast, and I said, look at here. I told Spence we're doing a pivot to black and brown people. So I said, Spence,
you hold your hand like that too?
I said, yeah, while I'm texting, I said, look at here now. Look at here. And I said, if Spence asks you Mexican. She goes, I'm the whitest girl there is. I said, I know, but you don't say it. She said, I'm about to get canceled. I said, yep.
Hola.
Hold on. Oh.
Anyways, same thing before we get into the show.
We went into this podcast thinking that we was going to go one way. And we thought there was a lot of like horrible stuff that was going on or being said, from Shannon Sharpe and maybe, hurting Amanda and this and that. And because there's a lot of stuff on the internet. But most of the stuff was focused on self-diagnosis. Is it valid? What is it? Why do it? Is it harming other people? Is it getting in the way of certain things? I saw a lot of therapists commenting on it, saying, we shouldn't do it. And how, it's not clinical. So we're going to talk about what the hell is self-diagnosis and why it's a privilege to get fully diagnosed, how much money it costs, this and that. So some things that we've talked about before. But we're also going to talk about like even more in depth now, and then we're going to title this, but is self-diagnosis valid? That's going to be the title of this podcast. And we're going to use this one of Shannon Sharpe, which is an NFL athlete, Hall of Famer, tight end, 2-time Super Bowl winner, I think.
I think 3. He won 3.
3 with the Broncos.
Baltimore.
There you go. Numbers.
No, 2 with Broncos, 1 with the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, okay. There you go. So, and then he's podcasted, super famous now. And I think it's like one of the top number 1 or number 2 sports podcasts in America now. And on ESPN all the time, first take every day, 10 o'clock Eastern. So we're going to talk about him and then Amanda Seales. I'm a little plug. I'm trying to get him on the pod. And then Amanda, actress, activist, and self-diagnosed autistic. I'm also going to talk about how I think Shannon Sharpe's autistic too. So, because I've been thought that for a while.
Right.
All right. So let's get into this. Let's do some discussions. Yeah. Y'all getting ready to see some interesting dynamics, and you're getting ready to see Shannon maybe step in some shit, and then Amanda definitely take direct offense of these things, and we're going to talk about why that happens and like what's going on, what's being brought into the room, being an autistic individual and the trauma that carries throughout your life. So let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Booty whoop. Hoot hoot.
Whoop whoop.
Hey, Shay.
I whoop whooped as you whoop whooped.
I know you did. I'm just pausing. I'm doing the Amanda Seales.
Dramatic effect. Ah.
So she just stares at him. I'm like, man, she about to murder his
Black
ass.
women stare at black men.
Is that a thing?
Now it is.
It is now. I don't ever want that stare. I was like, ooh. My balls were like.
I thought you'd like that.
Okay, let's go.
At the same time.
Okay.
And in the past month, it's just been a very difficult time, but there's been really beautiful things that have come out of it that I will speak to, in this conversation.
Well, since we started there, we'll start there and we can pick up, go to another direction a little later. What started this evolution? What caused Amanda to all of a sudden see things, or not see things differently, but maybe see things as they actually are?
Because so many people were seeing what I was experiencing, and they shared with me that they had similar experiences.
Okay.
And so I recently was diagnosed as someone who has autism spectrum disorder, which is very difficult to identify in Black women because of racism.
So what exactly is autism spectrum? Because I hear people say you're on the spectrum.
It used to be called Asperger's.
Okay.
But that is no longer what it's called, because to my knowledge, Asperger was a Nazi.
Okay.
But what it simply means is that your brain functions in a different way. So you're neurodivergent, and you also have certain tendencies that are considered outside of what the neurotypical way of things is.
Okay.
And a lot of times that can have you present in a manner that people misrepresent.
Okay. Okay.
Which is the story of my life.
Okay.
And so when all of this started ballooning out of nowhere, and people were saying, you're unlikable and you're a bully. No, not you're a bully, but you're being bullied. And these were tropes that have been associated with me before, but I'm in a new level of visibility at this juncture. And you get people saying things like, you are difficult, you are mean, you are nasty, and you know that you're none of these things.
Right.
But they're attributing it to things that are not actually action-based. Like, I don't cheat people. I don't lie to people. I don't stab people in the back. I don't operate in mendacity. I am not duplicitous. I don't do none of this shit. But I have a certain tone about how I speak. And that makes people feel like, oh, I'm mean, because something about the tone that I speak in doesn't make them feel a certain way. So
can I ask you this? Not to cut you off, but were they people that you had relationships with? Were this in the workplace that you became difficult? Or is this people that you just have general interactions with?
These aren't people I've met.
So it's
the people who are saying these things about me have never met me.
And that's impacting you?
Yes.
Why?
For a number of reasons. One, I am not a sociopath. Two, it is actually a part of being autistic that you are very, very, very sensitive to what people think about you, because you are always keenly aware that you are an alien. You are keenly aware that you are different. You are keenly aware that something is very odd about you, and you're always trying to make the room feel good. We literally just talked about it because it's my habit.
Right.
It's my habit to try. I'm gonna cry already. I've only been here for like 5 damn minutes. It is my habit because I've always been labeled as this. You think you know everything. It's not that I think I know everything, but I really did know the answer. And I'm thinking I'm helping the room out by having the answer.
Oh.
But they like, ugh,
Think you're a know-it-all.
you're a lot. You're a show off. You're extra. In my sophomore year of college, I was put in a suite with 7 other women. And the day I got there, my name had been ripped off the door and thrown on the ground. I didn't even know these women. And 2 weeks in of them not talking to me, I said, listen, I'd like to have a Friday night where I buy a bottle of tequila and we all just sit around and y'all can take shots and tell me why you don't like me. And everybody's reason was, I don't like you because you think you all laugh. I don't like you because you extra. I don't like you because you a show off. None of that shit is anything having, like, I'm not harming them.
Right.
Like, I'm literally just trying to
But they formed this opinion of you prior to meeting you.
Like, I'm just trying to exist. I'm literally just existing in the world. And it's a fucking problem. And so when you are I'm also an only child, you know, like
okay.
so I didn't have like built-in support systems outside of my mom. You know, I didn't have like that brother sister support system. And so I've always felt like the outsider. I've always been an outlier. You know, it's always interesting when people call me the mean girl. I say I must have turned into a bad bitch because I was flat-chested and loud for a really long time. Like I was always the bullied one.
Right.
I've been bullied for all type of shit. But when you ask, like, why does that bother you? It's because no one wants to be invalidated. I don't think anyone is really okay with that. And I think that also as a Black woman, we are always kind of put in this position of appeasement. And how do you not disrupt the space? How do you not disrupt the space? And if you're going to not like me, I would at least like it to be for a legit reason.
Okay.
And I'm so happy to be in this space with you because, to be honest, like, I've spent so much time trying to convince people, Shannon, trying to convince people of like, no, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. And it's like, I'm off it.
Yeah.
I'm off it. There is the truth. There is my truth. And a lot of times, baby, it's the same. And one of the reasons why you can see that is because when I recount a story, I want you to notice this when I recount stories. I very rarely include my feelings. It's never, I felt that this person did this. I thought that this person did this. It's like reading Game of Thrones. He's going to give you this. He's just giving you the sequence of events. You don't see the feelings of Catelyn Stark at the fucking Red Wedding until you watch the show, because in the writing, it is just a series of events. That is part of my autism. I speak in directs. I speak in linear spaces. I speak in literals. That's part of the reason why people don't like me neither, because I'm literal and I take things literally. So if you say to me, I'm gonna be there at 5, I'm like, why you ain't here at 5? They're like, well, I'm at 5-ish. Well, you should have said 5-ish because I was waiting for you at 5.
So let me ask you this. How old were you when you got diagnosed, and did you always feel that you was different and you felt something was wrong?
Well, what's today?
Today is Thursday, the 18th.
So 42 and however many days until I was just recently diagnosed.
Okay.
And this came out of this situation because so many Black women who are autistic said to me, I see you. You need to. And I've always thought, you can look at other interviews. I have mentioned before, like, I think I'm on the spectrum because I'm an 80s baby. This was not really a part of the narrative.
Right.
And as we started seeing more about autism and you start seeing shows about different characters and I start learning more like from people like Holly Robinson Peete, I'm like, this feels really like me. But then, you know, I think sometimes we're afraid to learn certain things.
Yeah.
So
60s and 70s babies just got whipped and put to bed.
And to be honest, it's true. And to be honest, I just want to say, like, so my mom, so in this revelation, my mother started looking up like symptoms of autistic children and was like, oh, you exhibited all of this, but I didn't know what to do with this. Mm-hmm. She's a single parent. She's trying to figure it out. But I really just thank my mom because what my mom couldn't show up for me emotionally, I realized that she was able to, at the very least, that's not even fair to say, she was able to still let me be who I am instead of beating it out of me.
Right.
Which happens to so many kids who are misunderstood, you know, like, and she's West Indian, La Japal Grenada Massive. And so like, I'm over here being this precocious, you know, loquacious child that's always talking and they're telling her like, why you letting her just do all this talking and all of that? Why she's too fresh? She too fresh. Why you doing all, why you letting her just run she mouth so? And my mom is like, that's Amanda. Like, let her live.
Right.
And let's be real, most parents.
That wasn't happening.
No, shut it up. Mm-hmm. If my father had lived with me, I would never have been the person I am now. Because he wouldn't have been able to handle it. And I believe that he is autistic too. He's because he's brilliant.
Right.
He's just, he was never seen the way he needed to be seen. And so it turned into narcissism.
But you can be brilliant without being autistic though, right?
Hell yeah. Okay. 1000%. Okay. Absolutely.
But just
because I'm both. I'm gifted and autistic.
Yes, but Amanda, sometimes, you know, just because you have a special gift, that doesn't mean that, you know, you have a spectrum or you have just because you see things differently, it doesn't mean that you're on the spectrum or you.
This isn't related to simply how I see things. This is related to how my brain functions.
Yes. But just because your brain functions differently from, say, mine.
Yes.
So you feel just because your brain functions differently that's what caused it, or there's a clinical diagnosis that
there are clinical diagnoses
for you.
Yes, there are clinical diagnoses for autism. Yes.
Yeah, I know
when you take the tests, when you take the test, you're like, hold up, I've been thinking my whole life that this was a problem. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that I have to doodle, I have to draw all the time. I have to be doing things all the time to be stimulated. It's literally called stimming. Okay. Like the fact that when I'm a baby, I have to rock, like in a child pose, like literally rock. And my mom would be like, why is she doing that? We find out later, this is stimming. This is her literally dealing with her anxiety in a self-soothing way. Okay. The fact that even little things like, if there was a bowl of peanuts right here, I would be lining them up in a row. I'd be lining them up in a row. Like these are small things that are indicative of like your brain functions in a very particular way.
Right. Okay.
And that functionality also displays itself in your behavior, right? So it's also atypical to the way that our society functions. Mm-hmm. So for instance, like this society is very keen on people performing. There's all this phoniness all the time, right?
Yes.
And when you are autistic, you literally are unable to even catch these certain social cues. There have been twice in my life where I was in a fight and I didn't know I was about to be in a fight because I just didn't understand the social cues.
Right.
I literally didn't understand what was happening.
Okay.
You know, I'm thinking like they said come outside and I'm like, what's up? And then I get punched in the fucking face. For the record, I won the fight.
You let her get out. She got out first and you still won.
Yes, sir.
Damn, you got squabble skills like that?
I have rage.
Ah.
I have rage. I'm very strong, like freakishly.
You single?
Yes. You want to talk about it?
Nah. And we're gonna talk about it later. So let me ask you this. So there were a lot of parent-teacher conferences with you, huh?
Yes, but not for what what do you think they were about?
Your excessive talking, maybe the doodling.
Funnily enough, no. You know what the parent-teacher conferences were about?
What?
Amanda is sticking up for other kids in the class. Amanda is correcting me. Like I had a teacher, Miss Schwenk, who called a conference because she was talking about Aboriginal art. Mm-hmm. And she said that she stood in front of the class and said, you know, that the Aborigines are a Stone Age people. And I was like, ma'am, there are Aboriginals alive right now. Like they are a part of civilization. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, no, you know, what I mean is that they've never advanced. And we're in a classroom in Orlando, Florida. So like, if we don't check this type of stuff, it's going to just continue. So I was that student. Like I was the kid who was always raising my hand and just wasn't easily appeased by simply just someone being an authority.
Right.
And I love this because when she called my mom and said, you know, I'd like to set a conference up because I have some complaints about Amanda. My mom said, well, you know, that's interesting because Amanda has some complaints about you. And so they came to the meeting. And it was my mom and Mr. Wright and Miss Cersei. It's all black people at Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, Florida. And this lady sat there and actually you and Mr. Wright had the same build. And Mr. Wright was like, all right, so, you know, we're here to discuss Amanda disrupting the class with her talking. And she was like, no, Amanda doesn't disrupt the class with her talking. She actually helps the other students out. He's like, oh, okay. So is it about her grades? And she's like, actually, no. One of her art pieces is featured in our exhibit at the library. And he's like, so what are we here for? And she's like, well, you know, she corrects me in front of the class. And these three black people are like, here we go with this racist bullshit, you know, because that's really what it is. We're in Florida in the 80s and the 90s. And
but let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think she would have felt equally as offended if a white kid, because I'm assuming this teacher was white, right? Mm-hmm. If a white child would have corrected her, I think most teachers would feel some type of way if a child corrects them.
That's not for me to surmise. I'm just saying that my experience was this lady giving wrong information.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to correct her. Now, this is the same lady who tried to accuse me of stealing. And when a white girl said, no, Amanda didn't steal it, I did. She was like, well, I think both of you need to go to the principal.
Right.
I'm in Orlando, Florida, which is a notoriously racist state, Florida, in the 90s. And I'm talking to you about a white woman who is speaking about black people, indigenous people in a country where those same indigenous people have had all of their land taken from them by former criminals that were sent there from England. And she is calling them Stone Age people. And I, as a black girl, the only black girl in her class, am correcting her.
But my thing is, you're right. She possibly misspoke or she didn't know. I
guess my question to you is, why do you even feel compelled at this juncture in this interview? Why would you even feel compelled to try to
because I'm not defending, but my thing is that what I'm trying to say, most adults, when kids correct them or speak, feel some type of way. This is not unique to a black, white, or white, black. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you took it that way. But I remember when I was growing up, my grandparents and parents said, hey, kids, stay in your place. Adults are speaking. That's all. Maybe that didn't happen where you were from in Orlando, Florida. But where I grew up when I grew up, kids did not correct adults. So I apologize if you thought it came off as combative.
No problem.
Hey everyone, before we get into the show, please check out our collaborator, Bubs Naturals. They sell a variety of health and wellness products, including collagen peptides, MCT oil powder, coffee, apple cider vinegar gummies, and other amazing products. Go to bubsnaturals.com and use our code DSP20 to get 20% off your entire order. And with that, let's get into the show. We back again.
We back. We back just like racism.
I don't think they ever left.
It
I'll be
didn't.
honest with you.
I'm
I'm gonna be honest with you.
It really didn't. I mean, it's there.
And it's always lingering.
It's always like, it's like a herpes.
Exactly. Racism's like herpes.
It is. It's always there, but it doesn't always show.
Wow. What an analogy. Holy shit.
Dr. Nas,
That's
thank
great.
you. University of Kentucky, shout out, PhD.
Yep, you're a doctor.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to put that on like a title card. Just racism's like herpes. By Dr. Nas. It's gonna be great.
It'll be
It's gonna
great. That's gonna sell. Gonna sell.
So, anyways, like we said before, we're doing Club Shay Shay today. Club Shay Shay. Yes. Before we get into it, we're not going to be talking completely about these two people that are having this conversation, right? This is more about self-diagnosis and just autism in general. So let's put that straight in there. And we're not picking sides here. Two sides. We're in the middle. We're in the middle. You can call us whatever you want, but you know what? We're sticking to the middle here, no matter how much our personal feelings get in the way. All right. So so before we even started this show, Nas messaged me at some point in the day. And you know what? I was like, oh, hey, message from Nas. He's like, hey man, I need you to check this out for me. All right. This thing with Shannon Sharpe and Amanda Seals. I need you to check that out for me. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what happened. Something happened. Thought somebody like attacked. What happened here? No. Then I come do some research, being like, oh yeah, Shannon Sharpe's being thrown under the bus because of his comments and how he handled the podcast with Amanda Seals. And so we wanted to do, he's like, hey, pick a clip out and we'll do a show about it. I need you to give me some information. I'm like, what information? What are you talking about? He's like, I need you to give me some information about, I need to know his kids, where they go to school, what they eat for lunch.
It's so scary.
All this.
I need to know. I need to know everything about him. We're about to do a hit piece.
Yes. Nas was ready to go on, because that's just how he is, protective of all the autisms, all the spectrums. He's protective of it.
I'm protective of all you little bus riding motherfuckers.
All you Lego eating.
Chicken tender licking.
Chicken tender licking. Dinosaur nugget eating.
Minecraft playing.
We could go on for days with this. Anyway.
Gotta catch them all ass. All right, go ahead.
So we, I was like, oh, okay, haha, yeah, cool, I'll do that. I did not think he was serious at all, just to come find out recently, 5 minutes ago, that he was very serious about it and really wanted to know that stuff. And so I did my research before I did that other research.
The hit piece.
Yes. And I found it, and I told him, like, he wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Is he the best interviewer?
No.
But did he go fully after her? Was he actually attacking her? Was he saying like, oh, you need to be clinically diagnosed in order to actually be autistic? No. As we see in the clip, he was not saying that at all. So this is actually a good lesson for everyone out there. Do your research before you go ahead and do something that you might regret later on.
Yeah.
Don't just read the internet and what people are posting, because those are different point of views.
Yep.
Those are sometimes emotional point of views as well.
Yep.
They're not always intellectual, and you're not thinking about it. You're just kind of feeling it, which is fine. But in this case, wouldn't have ended well. So glad we did research, both of us, and glad that we came to this point and we're showing these clips. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Another 2 cents is, there was a follow up, I guess, Instagram post with Amanda Seals talking about, because other followers or fans or haters were talking to them like, when did you get diagnosed? They wanted more information. So she clarifies that she wasn't formally diagnosed
Right.
and that only recently she's like fully, believing and going through the self-diagnosis. So that's what we want to talk about today, because everyone's dragging it through the mud. Self-diagnosis, why do that? You shouldn't do that. It's not appropriate. Don't do that to your kids. So we're going to get to the pros and cons of this. And we're going to use this as a jump off point.
Yeah.
My 2 cents, with them too. So we'll talk about them two characters real quick and then we'll pivot. He's not the person for that specific conversation to understand like mental health and medical related issues, autism related issues. But it looked like to me, I take people in good faith. I'm always taking people in good faith that they're meaning well. And so he was trying to just understand more, maybe help the audience understand some things too. It came off, not necessarily combative, but it came off of, invalidating. And I don't think that he was trying to do that. And then he was apologetic. And then it looks like by the end of it, it ended very well. She's like, hey, you can come on my podcast. He was so happy for her and proud of her, right? I mean, the whole podcast was well, but there was a very intense moment that you will all see. And I want to, hopefully we can keep the whole clip in there. Hopefully that all of you, while I'm talking, will have seen the whole clip. Because she makes so many good points about autism. So let's be very clear. She is very knowledgeable of what autism is in all of its interests, intricacies, specificities. Like she understands what it is. She knows what she's talking about. And I think that, she coming into this interview and she talked about one time when, she getting bullied, this and that, and she started to get emotional. It's not even been 5 minutes. So you can see that she's already deregulated a little bit. And so her emotional threshold is up there now. Now she's a little bit already in this emotional state. And then comes a couple side comments from him. And I think that deregulated her even more. And now she's like, well, now I'm done with you. Fuck you. You're pushing me on, do I think that I'm autistic or not? Is it valid or not? There was a lot of misunderstanding. Shannon Sharpe's not the most clear speaker either, right? And he's just trying to understand some stuff. So there was a lot of stuff lost in translation. She's very sharp and quick. Like she said, she's blunt, she's quick, and she was almost too quick for Shannon. So, because he couldn't articulate what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
And he does that on TV all the time. He get lost in his words.
Everywhere. That's how he is.
Yeah, he gets lost in his words. My opinion, I've always thought that he was autistic. Based on some of the other things that I know about him, some of the things that he said, on stage, like his OCD tendencies, his brushing habits, all of his routines when it comes to his hygiene and routine and weightlifting. There's a lot of like hyper focuses, right? I mean, he talks about brushing his teeth like literally 6 times before like 10 o'clock. I'm like, well, that's not good. And we know there's a lot of athletes with obsessiveness that are OCD. And I'm like, a lot of y'all motherfuckers are autistic.
Yeah. And to be fair to Shannon, I mean, no one who watches his show expect him to know like
everything,
all of this.
Yeah.
No. Why would he? He's an athlete. He's an ex-athlete who does a sports show.
Yep.
Do you expect him to know everything about like the spectrum? I do a show with you. I don't know everything about this thing.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah. And I get where other people are coming from in a way. I get it's a very sensitive topic. But at the same time, he's not doing anything in bad faith. He's not doing anything to be antagonistic or anything like that. He's coming off and trying to be eloquent about what he's saying and doing it in a sensitive way, but he's just not getting it out there in the right form of words. And you know what? I loved his Cat Williams show. It was like one of my favorite shows to watch. I watch it repeatedly all the time because it's a great show. And the way, if you see how Cat Williams does it as well, he knows who Shannon Sharpe is, and so now he kind of goes in with kid gloves a little bit, with him. He's like, and he tries to help him like understand certain things, and even though there are questions that either he's already answered or things, he just does it anyways because he knows it's Shannon Sharpe and stuff, and he gives him that respect, I guess.
Yep.
But that I kind of have to be in the defense of Shannon here because he's not equipped for that. He's not.
He struggled. Here's a good point here. Think about this. She talks about, her tone being, perceived as bad. The way she talks, the directness, the itemized, the logical facts, and being seen as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then she immediately gets on him about, maybe about how the way he articulates or his tone. There's not a lot of patience in there. Not like, oh, let me listen. Stuff. There wasn't much. Could have been because of some deregulating, but there's also some stuff that's being brought in there. So as we, pivot a little bit now, it gets real weird around this racist stuff in this teacher and like her performance and behavior. And I think she also might have got offended when he said, well, did you get in trouble a lot? Because I can see where she can get mad at that. Well, but he was just asking because maybe you talk too much. He's just repeating back what you said. He's like, no, it's because I was correcting the teacher and I was too smart and this and that. Okay. So, he wasn't freaking out about that. So some more things come out about the teacher that you'll see. And he's trying to like understand the context. He's using his own lived experiences too, where children just need to shut up, know your role. It could have been something that she would have answered. I don't think he was dismissing racism, but he just wanted to see, do you think that kid would have gotten in trouble too? And I think the kid would have gotten in trouble too, but obviously she got in more so because of her color and the teacher. I fully believe that. Yeah. I fully validated everything that was being said. And so I'm looking at these two individuals that one for sure is identified as being autistic. The other one, right, just me being suspicious and curious and thinking that he is. And how these two individuals just can't interact together, can't play nicely. And it's kind of sad because now people will think that maybe autism is like her. Maybe autism is outspoken and loud and boisterous and mean and derogatory. Again, that's one version. And I don't think that all of those things are part of her autism. It's also her personality, like her culture. That's how her mom also allowed her to be who she is. And so I really love that part. I followed her on Instagram for years and years and years, still follow her. It's mostly political things that I've seen and anti-racist things like that. And so it was just an interesting pod. And it feels like a lot of folks were hating Shannon. And so that's why I was like, hey, man, let me stick up for this person too, man, because I thought they was devaluing her autism. And it didn't look like that's what it was. Some of you may disagree. I know most of you that listen to the podcast are women identified individuals. And so maybe like, hey, man, you're taking the dude side. I'm doing my best to consider everything as a licensed mental health care practitioner, right? I'm trying to use my clinical brain listening to it. And I see two people talking at two different wavelengths. I see this all the time in couples and relationships, two different people not listening. And I feel bad for her because, when people watch this, she's going to look kind of bad. And I feel bad for also the people that are judging him. Pause. I also feel like this is all kind of blown out of proportion. I think they're just doing this for publicity. I think it's all bullshit because I don't trust anyone in media, like at all. I think it's just all bullshit. I told Spence, I was like, this is just because she got tours coming out and maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but it all feels kind of like fake. There wasn't a lot there.
Yeah. We didn't try to email her and try to get her on the show.
Yeah. So Spence shot her an email when we first talked about it. We're like, hey, man, come on the show. Let's talk about autism and this and that because it'd be a wonderful show. Oops. And now I'm like terrified. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to be so mean to me.
She's going to be like, baby, I'm the sweetest girl. And then you say something wrong. Like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, I'll kill you. Hold up, girl, now. Hold up now. No, you won't. You'll never find me.
And to be fair to your point, from what I've seen, a lot of women, especially Black women, have come out and said that they really relate to her and how she feels and, everything that she's going through as well. So I think it's a great point that autism is being spoken about and that it has a platform like this.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that don't just use this one example of a person as for all of autism. That's just not how it works.
Nope.
That's why it's a spectrum. Everybody's different. So anybody who wants to use this as like a hit piece against autism,
don't do that.
That's where the problem kind of lies there, in my opinion. Because then now this one person who's huge, and getting a lot of attention and, putting autism on the map when it comes to just a topic.
Yep.
This is where it kind of gets a little dicey.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And so that's what we'll do the pivot. So we'll talk about autism. She makes a lot of good points, Spence. She talks about, the way she speaks when it comes to things being logical and itemized. Like, I really enjoyed that. She talks about fidgeting and stimming all the time. Now she stims and rocks when she gets overwhelmed. When she said specifically when she was younger, she didn't say now, but I assume now. She said she likes to doodle and draw all the time. And so that's the thing that a lot of my folks do to like regulate is doodle and draw while we're in therapy, while they're in class, while they're on the cell phone talking to people, right? I do the same thing when I'm on the cell phone, drawing shit. Okay, so that was good. She talks about the interpersonal, like picking up on signs and signals. So her, maybe getting bullied, this or that. Maybe like it's a fight about to break out. And she's like, oh, we're having a good time. Meet me outside. And she's like, oh shit, we about to fight. Like, damn. That's so common with my spectrum of kids, man, my autistic kids. What's funny to me is none of them are getting into fights. They're like, Nas, I don't know if I'm getting hit on or not. I'm like, girl, he hitting on you. He likes you.
He put it on your leg. He's hitting on you. Okay.
He likes you a lot. And some of my boys too, I'm just like, they're not hanging around this much and doing this much. I'm like, y'all were dating. I was talking to one kid. They said they went like 3-4 months of like dating this dude. Like they went to prom with this dude. And he's like, yeah, we were full on dating. I didn't know. And he's like calling me his girlfriend at the end. I'm like, y'all was going on dates together. No, we were just friends. Bruh.
You slept in the same bed.
Yeah, he was paying for your dinner and lunch. No, he paying for your dinner and lunch. He was dating you.
Fair.
And so we get into what does this dating mean? What are these little small things that you pick up on? These social cues, the interest. How do you know when someone's interested in you, right? Even I fuck this up a lot. Because I always take the avenue that no one's interested. So that way I don't like think that they're interested. So that way I don't like build anything up and I can just keep them as friends. As soon as I think that I'm going to date them or like I have a shot at dating them, then I start acting funny and weird and anxious, right? And so I go in with no expectations. That way I can treat them like a human that they are and just have fun and two humans be humans instead of me like, hey girl, how you? First name Bobby, last name Wilson. How you doing?
Bobby Wilson at your service.
You know. I try to act all cool and shit, and then it just comes out as me and being like, hello, autistic, talking about therapy.
All right. So I kind of want to ask you, even though we are talking about autism, I do want to get back to like self-diagnosis.
Let's get back to that.
Get back to that.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, clinical opinion, are the benefits of self-diagnosis? And then I kind of want to know the, detractors of self-diagnosis as well. Let's start with the positives first before the negatives.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start off like this. I'm not fully diagnosed autistic, but I know that I'm autistic. I was diagnosed very early on with ADHD and medicated for ADHD when I was very young. I know that I was taking medicine in like the first grade. I know it was the second grade. I remember I had to go to the office and get it. So right, that's one thing showing there, plus the dyslexias, and there's a bunch of other stuff in there, but no formal diagnosis for autism. As a matter of fact, other clinical counselors I was asking said that they don't think that I was, because all these other different things. I'm good at talking, blah, blah, blah. So self-diagnosis has helped me internalize and figure out a lot of stuff. So for a lot of other folks, self-diagnosis is the only thing. So what the hell is a self-diagnosis? Formal clinical diagnosis is an assessment with a bunch of computerized stuff that's going to test for learning disabilities, ADHD, anxiety, personality disorders. It's going to run you through this whole gamut of things. And then in a subsection, though, you're going to pay extra money for this autism assessment. And there's going to be a bunch of like questionnaires that's done, but it's also going to be a one-on-one talk therapy type of thing. Then also they may talk to some of your counterparts or your friends or loved ones, partner, parents to make a full assessment. It's a very rounded, full wraparound service. That service, depending on location and where you're at, could be free because your insurance covers it. It could be you just got to meet your deductible, $2,200, whatever it is. Most of the time, it's going to cost about at least $1,500. That's at least. That's for ADHD at least. Well, I'm thinking like the norm's about $4,000. For some places, like in bigger places, maybe about 10 grand. You're also talking about it's like multiple sessions. For some people, they got to go back 2 to 3 times. So it could be very overwhelming because now you got to get access to, if you are autistic. Well, that's a lot to do. We just did a whole podcast on PDA. That's going to release the week before this. So this will release the 8th. And the podcast that released on May 1st, May 2nd up will be about PDA. So it's a lot of things to get in. You got to get ready. You got to get dressed. You got to prepare for this interview. You got to, get a ride because we know a lot of folks on the spectrum don't drive. So now you got to get a ride, go maybe take a bus. Maybe it's hours away. A lot of things that get in the way of getting a full assessment, Spencer. It's not just the money. It's the steps to get there to the fucking thing.
Right.
Because we know a lot of folks don't drive. We know a lot of folks are super anxious. A lot of folks are underinsured. Those are some of the biggest things. And it could take multiple sessions. So let's say even if you have insurance and all that, well, now can you take off work? Because they ain't doing this shit on Saturday and Sunday. So that means you got to take off work. Well, we're already at like 90% unemployment for folks that are diagnosed autistic, but now they got to take off work. You see what the barriers are. Unless it's done really young, there's a lot of barriers. Of course, the barriers also too in cultures, Black and brown families, certain religious families, they don't believe in a lot of these mental health things. So that the formal assessment, intense, in-depth and intense, is magnificent. We also know that it doesn't always pick up autism. It'll say like borderline, but not borderline personality. So it'll say like borderline, like, we can't tell. It'll be inconclusive. I advise folks that are doing that to do what my clients do, which are lucky as shit because they're getting free therapy with me, is I'll sign a release form so I can talk to their testing and evaluation person, their psychologist, and be like, look, here's all these different things that my person probably can't articulate and how they act with others, without others, their affect, a bunch of different moods and emotions. I just recently did that. And they were like, cool, this gives me a lot more information. It definitely sounds like it's autism and not just social anxiety. It's like, yeah, I 100% believe it's autism. I know it's autism. She's like, thank you. It was only like a 15-minute consultation, which now got the kid diagnosed with all the other formal assessments, Spencer.
Right.
Self-diagnosis. So this is what everyone likes to talk about. This is what everyone likes to shit on that isn't autistic or ADHD. Self-diagnosis is not this new age shit where you go on TikTok and you see a couple of videos and you're like, that's me. There's not, autistic folks are like, that's me.
Yeah, they sound like that.
Yeah, because I'm making fun of TikTok watchers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think they're all idiots. Even though people are watching us on TikTok. So shout out to TikTok.
Hey.
Go follow us.
You probably won't be here in like 8 months. It's fine.
Yeah. But there's a lot of folks that are like identifying with things that they're seeing on the internet. But let's backtrack it. Folks on the spectrum always know that there's something different. She talks about it. Something's always been a little off, a little alien. Something's off. You're not talking right. You're not making friends as normal. The interactions are different. Maybe you're dating. Maybe you're not dating. Maybe you're talking to. There's so many. You're just different. You're wondering, like, am I from a different planet? Maybe I'm going to make up these best friends that we were talking about with M. Rumble, bibliotherapist that'll come out the 16th, so the week after this. And how she had all these like imaginary friends and stuff. Like, some of that's normal, but some of it's not normal. It's a little pathological. We can pathologize it. So the self-diagnosis is for a lot of folks that can't afford it and that already know something's different. So then they start doing these self-assessments. We talked about it recently with the PDA person, Dina. She did the one called the RADS. It's free. On a couple different websites. I like to give out the autism quotient, which is really quick, 50 questions. There's also the Ask Me quiz, about 250 questions. There is the alexithymia quiz to figure out where you are when emotional identification. Really good. There's a few ADHD ones that you can do. So there's ones online. There's also a couple from like Dr. Amen too. There's multiple ones, and we have them all in our link tree. All the assessments for all of you they're in our link tree, and they're all free. Bunch of these other folks are going to charge you for this shit. They're going to charge you $1, $2 for every worksheet, for every assessment. It's literally all free on our thing. Just download the shit, give it out. I don't care. People are like scared that I'm giving out all my stuff for free. It's like, I don't give a shit. Me and Spencer literally not doing this to hustle you to buy shit.
No.
We're doing the merch and stuff. That's just like a fun thing to do. We're not making any money. We make like $2 off a shirt. Like, that's not a lot of money. Yeah, I was like, oh, we made $2. That's nice.
Yay.
We're just doing that for fun and because, it's just great shit. So the assessments are free. I also have a checklist in there that's gender neutral, but it was made by women for women. And it's going to get really in detail of like what it is and how someone may think or perceive. Most of you are going to be like, this is bullshit. This is just anxiety. But you start checking off a lot of things on that checklist in there and like highlighting a lot of things in green. And you start thinking to yourself, oh man, if all these quizzes and this checklist are saying this is the thing, most likely a thing. So I am technically helping folks get self-diagnosed in my office, Spencer, every day.
Yep.
And then I've got all my clinical data points and I'm tying it all together, putting a bow on it. But then I ask about their parents and their family members, right? I'm doing this family tree. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of stuff here. Aunts, uncles, addiction issues, schizophrenia, bipolar, autism. It's all here. Hyperfocuses, specificities, hobbies, intelligence, learning disabilities, handwriting. I'm looking at it all. Folks that do self-diagnostic, Spencer, are not doing it to hurt anyone. They're doing it to understand themselves. They're like, holy shit, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I just sent you a reel of this black dude. And he's like, for 20 years, I tried to get an assessment. They said it was bipolar. Spencer, every single fucking person that's black, that's autistic, they literally label them as bipolar every time. You got bipolar. I'm like, they're autistic as shit. And a lot of them are actors and actresses. Yeah. Maybe they got bipolar too, but it's also very comorbid, co-occurring. Both of them at the same time. I'm not throwing some shade here. This isn't shade. I've always questioned like folks like Demi Lovato. I'm like, autism. Amanda Bynes, Miley Cyrus, I think that's her name, right? Folks are super weird. I'm like, this feels kind of spectrumy. There's a couple other black actresses that have recently come out with bipolar disorder. I'm like, I wonder also if this is some autism.
See, I want to ask you. So first, I do want to ask you more about just being black or brown and have autism.
Yep, we can get
but
into it
first,
later.
I kind of want to ask, can you give some steps to those who don't have a therapist like you who are going to catch this?
Good question.
Can you give some steps on like how they could get their self-diagnosis or if they can go to a professional?
Okay. So the first step is understanding that you're probably different than others. Or you're either getting really tired and burned out. So it's not like a depressive burned out. It's like throughout the day, you're just hitting a lull. You're socializing with people and then you have to leave and go to the different room like me all the time. Always got to leave and escape. People always be like, where Nas at? He drunk? No, I just had to leave the bar, the hangout, because it's too fucking hot. It's too loud. So I hang out with all the smokers outside and it's safer. So you start seeing where you're different. You're doing things, you're comparing yourself. We're always comparing ourselves to other people, but you're starting to see there's a lot of things adding up where something's definitely different about my personality. So the first step is to sit back and be like, well, I wonder why that is, to do a little bit of self-introspection. So to do this, Spencer, you got to be a little bit more self-aware and you got to have a little bit of a, normal to above average intelligence. Because some folks, they're just, hey, I'm different. I don't give a fuck. Some folks are like, I wonder why. The smarter you are, the more anxiety you have, the more questions you ask why. You just ask why. So first step is to figure out, hey, man, something's different. Second step is to start Googling. Is this pathological or is this just me being me? And you're awesome to be you. There's a bunch of online screeners, like we just said. You can do those on our thing. It's down in the link tree in the podcast and in the YouTube here. And it's also on every single social media that we have. It's plugged. So that's step one, is to do a few screeners. So if you want to do the easy ones, there's anxiety and depression. You can knock those out to see, hey, maybe that's what it really is. We have those screeners in there as well too. So step two is to start doing some screeners. Step three is probably start talking to friends, Spencer. Do you have friends? Do your friends say that you like spectruming? Do they say you're odd, quirky, weird, blunt, funny, loud, too much? I did a podcast with I Am Human 2-1 or whatever, right? The therapist, where they're trying to do BIPOC therapists and how they're like normal people. At the end of it, I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, you're not too much. It's fine. I was like, I just talked the whole time. She couldn't say anything. I was like, shut up.
So don't you?
You don't know what you're
talk over
talking
me.
about. The narcissism comes out. I'm joking. So ask your friends. You'll be surprised. Maybe some of them will be like, oh, yeah, definitely autistic. You'd be surprised. If you think that you're different, ask a few of your friends, best friends, romantic partners. Your siblings and family members might not say anything, but maybe they will. Sometimes people just don't tell you because they think that you already know, Spencer. Like, oh, he already knows that he's weird. Does he?
Not yet.
Does he? You'd be surprised at how many children I know that I've worked with. They go to college and I'm like, hey, man, you're autistic as shit. And I'm like, we need to talk to your parents. And parents are like, oh, yeah, we've always known that since he was like fucking 4. We just never told him. Okay, that's interesting. Your child is extremely mad right now. Extremely mad. They could have worked on things, understood themselves, wonder why they were an alien in like this human suit. So that's step 2. If you want to find a therapist to help you work through some of these things, a lot of the high schools, middle schools, elementaries have social workers now. If your family has insurance, that's one step. If not, you might be able to talk to the social worker there and do some evaluations because they might have a school psychologist. If you're going into the university, there's definitely free therapy. So you can talk to someone there and maybe they can refer you to a specialist. If your parents are undocumented and you are a U.S. citizen and they don't have insurance because, right, they're not on the books getting paid, you're going to do like many of my clients that are undocumented. Is you're going to do your best to get on Medicaid. So Medicaid is going to be government insurance. You go on the website for Medicaid, .gov, whatever the fuck it is. Make sure it's .gov and not no weird shit. And you're going to get insurance. And then you're going to wait in line because it's going to be a longer line. And then you're going to get fully assessed by someone eventually that's in the Medicaid like network of therapists that you can go to. So that's probably step 2 is to, step 3 or 4 is to get insurance and then start looking to see where you can go. That's a lot, Spencer. You got to ask people, talk to people. We know people on the spectrum are super anxious. You don't want to scare anyone. It's tough. So now you got to have a therapist that's got some cojones. And that'll be, hey man, I think this is a thing, but a lot of therapists don't want to hurt anyone by saying they could be autistic. For me, it's an exploration. Hey man, let's figure this shit out together. I was just talking to a kid recently. He just sent me an email today. And hey man, so you're different in so many different ways, gender, sexuality, the way you carry yourself, just the depressive, the burned out vibe. There's just a ton of stuff. So you feel kind of autistic to me, man. I want you to do these assessment screeners to see if you're masking too much day to day. And wow, a lot of it was lit up pretty high. They said, what do you think? I emailed them back. I said, no, you first. What do you think? And they're like, well, this is kind of cool. And it looks like maybe I'm autistic, but also I'm scared because I don't want to get formally assessed because I won't be able to get certain jobs. If I want to be like this astronaut, then I can't do this. I was like, wait, well, I'm not formally assessing you. It's just me and you doing these things. And right, it's not going to be in your file. And then, I sent back a text saying all that. And then they sent back an email saying, well, it feels really good to know like I am different. So neurologically, I'm different for sure. Am I autistic? I don't know. But she said, I know I'm different, which feels good because now I don't feel weird, an alien, worthless. And then she goes, is there any way I can work with you in the summer? I honestly don't want to get another therapist and I'm willing to use my parents' insurance to work with you. I was like, kid, I haven't even responded to it yet. I'm literally just finishing starting my own company so I can take students on. She's gonna be so fucking happy. He said, I'm not scared when I'm talking to you and I feel like you just understand me. Well, I wonder why. It's because I'm autistic as shit. So another step is, if you're so lucky, go on to Psychology Today, people. I'll do my best to remember to put this in the thing. I'm not going to remember. It's the website called Psychology Today. It's where all the therapists are located that are private practice. And you're going to segregate it. And you're going to go to the drop-down boxes and you're going to click on autism. And it's going to show you every single therapist that thinks they know something about autism. That way, at least they know something. It might be some stupid, horrible shit, but at least they know something.
Yes.
And then you're going to read their bio and you're going to see, are they autism affirming or are they using a lot of cure shit, a lot of behavior analytics type stuff? Are they affirming, neurodivergent? Are they using all the right acronyms and all that stuff, right? Do they talk about trans individuals, right? You're going to see pretty quickly, are they, autistic affirming? Hell, one of my clients recently, she's going to be so mad at me that I'm going to open up my own practice, and I just forced her to get a new therapist because I didn't know. And I helped her pick a therapist. And I was like, she looked super bubbly, ADHD. She had like green hair. And I'm like, this girl autistic as shit. I was like, let's call her up. So we called her and then we booked an appointment. And then I talked to the therapist. She's like, oh, I got ADHD for sure. She's like cleaning her house while talking to me. She's like, most of my clients are autistic. I'm like, I think you're autistic. She's like, I probably am. So again, self-diagnosis. So you look at all these different intricacies and we call them intersectionality of your identities. If there's so many of them that keep lining up and correlated with autism, think about it. Different eating disorders, different sensitivity or sensory issues, communication issues with parents, families, others, different types of sexual orientations. A lot of folks that are queer, asexual, higher rates of autism. Or folks that are autistic show up in higher rates of the queer community. Show up at higher rates as trauma as well and bullying, as me and Spencer have talked about multiple times on this podcast. So when you start to connect all these dots, self-assessment is actually pretty easy. And the reason why it's so valid is you know you. You also can't afford all the other shit, but you know you. Then you've done your work. You've talked to people, right? You've consulted. So self-assessment to me is very, 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 very valid. That's what I am. That's what you are. So many of our friends are. Many of the people that have been on this podcast, FYI, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm not snitching anyone out if they haven't said they were autistic, but literally every single person that's been a guest on here has been autistic as shit. Not one of them has not been autistic. I literally don't feel like maybe one, maybe Kat the counselor, but other than that, they all felt. And a bunch of them were like, I'm extremely sensitive and all this. And I'm like, you're so autistic. Self-diagnosis can help people actually feel real. One of my boys recently, the one I told you that got freaked out when I said I'm watching My Hero.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it the other day. Spencer, I'm not sure if you ever, I don't think you did because I think you stopped season 2. Like season 3 or 4, there's this little girl that gets saved. I put a reel out because it was like super emotional. She got like this one horn.
Yep.
Ari, I think her name is, or Ari. Well, she goes to there's like this school concert and she's like smiling for the first time ever. This extremely traumatized kid. It's horrible. She gets tested and experimented on her entire life. And like, it's super emotional. So she smiles and he's like, literally, dude, I watched that fucking scene on replay, the concert, and her just smiling. And he damn near started crying, talking about the scene. He's like, I watch it on play. I'm like, dude, that's the most autistic thing today. But that's his stim. It makes him feel good. And I know exactly what he's talking about because I cried too. I'm like, oh my God, this poor traumatized girl. She's smiling.
Her heart is so sparkly.
She's so pure and innocent. And so I remember talking to him about his anger issues. And the more you keep digging, I'm like, dude, I think you're getting overstimulated. And I think the conversations are like Amanda Seals where they're not landing correctly and it's pissing you off. And then you get a little angry and you get a little frustrated and then boom, you pop. So all them fights that you used to get into back in like middle school and high school, that's what it was. Starts to get that demand, pathological demand avoidance. People are asking you to do things or say things right and you pop. Dude, he's like, this makes so much fucking sense. He's like, I feel awesome. It's like, now I know I'm not a fucking idiot. Now I know I'm not crazy. Now I know I'm not dangerous. He's like, I just need to limit my interactions with certain people and also know that at work, when people are doing things the wrong way or being harmful to other people that I'm the supervisor of, I need to maybe take a few deep breaths. So that way you don't lose your job. He's a big boy. Like, he's motherfucker's like my size. I'm like, you gonna hurt someone, bro. Mm-hmm. So this diagnostic thing, and he's been told that people by his best friend that he was probably autistic. So he's wondered, but he never did any enough digging, Spence, because not everyone feels like they need to do digging.
Yeah.
So self-assessment, right? It's not everyone does it because they don't really think they're just them. They don't think that them is pathologized, that there's a label. So everyone's fence just thinks that they're fucked up. Like they know that they're different, but they don't know that there's a reason why they're different, that their brain is different. Thus, they don't do a lot of digging. Let's have some fun real quick. Spence, do you know one fucking person in this world that's like, you know what? I think I'm autistic. And then like they don't mean it. Like there's no one that says like, I think I'm autistic and they're not autistic. Yeah. Have you ever met someone that said that?
For me, it's mainly been I've been telling people they're autistic because I know they are. And actually, one of my friends who we've actually both talked to, Sarah, like autistic is, and now she knows she's autistic as fuck too.
Is that the one that sends me all the reels and the memes? Love her. Shout out to Sarah. Love you to death. Yeah. Thank you for sending me all the things.
Yeah, she's great. And before she was very like skeptical of me telling her, like I was just saying it to say it, which I get. I mean, yeah, and like I understand. You know, I'm a shithead. But with her, and then all of a sudden now, then she starts looking. And by the way, she plays D&D. And I was like
D&D, League of Legends, Minecraft, Pokemon Go. Tism.
So then, I point her out to some of the self-assessments that you had, and then came back pretty autistic. And then, and now she's full blown saying like, yeah, I'm autistic. And, she fully is embracing it now.
I wonder if it's helping her. I wonder if she feels better about herself. Like it makes sense. Like she understands things. I don't know.
It maybe, but she moved back here to Minnesota. And so that also could help a little bit because now she's with family, people who really kind of understand like her moods and how she gets, and because she is very anxious and stuff like that. Sorry to put you on blast, but
no one knows. Yeah, no one knows who they are.
Yeah. And so, it's kind of like that deal, which, that probably has also helped a lot. I think having better surroundings, because when she was out in California, she was pretty much like by herself all the time. So now that she's like with her sister and stuff, I think that's also
helping too.
Helps a lot. Yeah.
I wonder if she's talked to loved ones about her feeling like she's autistic and like identifying as autistic.
I think she's talked to her sister who's.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. So I wonder if the sisters now the sisters might be wondering, oh shit, am I autistic too? I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? And from people I've met, it's just like, for the most part, they've all kind of just been like, oh, okay.
Cool.
Like for me, when you told me, I was like, oh, okay. At first I was kind of like a little bit like, no, what? You're just saying that.
Yeah. I'm not retarded. Like, calm down. Don't get all upset. I'm just saying that's what people think. Let's be real. People, I'm like, hey man, you're autistic. What's that mean? I'm retarded? No, because we view everything as disabled. Autism doesn't always mean disability. Everyone's like, well, I'm autistic and disabled. Well, you are because you got a bunch of other things going on. The autism doesn't clinically make you disabled.
Yes, everyone is different. It's not just like, oh, I tore my ACL. It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
All right. But yeah, and I've had a few people kind of go like, no, I'm not that and all that. And I'm just like, you be talking about science and how you love listening to like science books. I think you're autistic.
There's some signs there.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, it's always been kind of either a relief or it's kind of just rolls off the shoulders. Just like, okay, that's fine. I mean, it is what it is.
Indifference. A lot of the folks that I come and work with, they're not thinking that they're autistic. They just know that they're different. Something's going on. Something's wrong. And I'm like, I think this is what it is. I always have that option on the table, knowing that this is a possible thing. But the folks that actually are like wondering what the fuck's going on, those folks, self-assessment, self-diagnosis is magnificent. But a lot of my clients don't come in thinking that it's a thing, right? They don't come in like, hey man, I want an assessment with you now. They're usually there for like social anxiety, burnout, suicidality. Straight up. That's what it is. And I'm like, oh, some other stuff here. Some anger, addiction issues, porn issues. There's a lot of like issues that come up. Eating issues. I got a lot of kids that come in with high anxiety and eating issues. Disordered eating. Not an eating disorder, but it's usually pretty disordered eating. It's called ARFID, avoidant restrictive eating disorder, some shit. And so it gets really complicated. I tell people I have a really hard time, Spencer, diagnosing folks that are autistic that aren't white. Like, that's rated. Calm the fuck down. Because so many of my clients are white that whenever I get some black and brown clients in there that are autistic, the algorithm, I'm autistic as shit too, remember, right? Maybe you racist. Oh, okay, yes, and I own it. I'm racist as shit. I don't like you.
See, I knew it.
I know, I told it. It's the algorithm that I have of humans is always based on white identities. And so there's the things I pick up on white identities. So then when I move it to over populations, it doesn't always fit well. And then you move it over to different cultures and ethnicities. Now, is this autism or is this the culture and how they act and how they respond? It's just the way all the time. Like one of my clients, he's like, oh yeah, I hold my like father's hand when I cross the street. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a bunch of other things that we can get into when it comes to like anxiety and stuff, but it's really difficult with international kids too, because it's a whole nother step that I don't know the culture. So now let's look at black and brown individuals, Spence. Like I said, it's harder with white folks. It's pretty easy with dudes to pick it out, a lot easier, right? I mean, none of the doctors ever fucking believe me that they're autistic, like the kid's autistic. I'm like, they are. This OCD, I've seen it. This anxiety, this stuttering. The kid literally is doing echolalia in front of me right now. But that's his OCD. Whatever, man. So it's pretty easy for me to pick it out with males because they show a little bit more severe, they call it, right? They show a little bit more traits or tendencies. There's less masking, right? That's what my dissertation was. How do women differ from men? Let me get into women. It's much harder because all the different gender things that we talked about and the masking and like the calming and shutting up, like Amanda Seales talks about, being proper, being quiet, being well kept, being respectful. And then you add on another identity of being black. So what does it mean to be black? I don't fucking know. Does it mean you slinging drugs and listening to rap? No. Does it mean that you're just watching anime? No. Does it mean that you're reading books, bibliotherapist? No. Being black or brown or white is not a monolith. There's so much variation. But I look at my students that are black and you're wondering first, like, is it trauma? Is it issues in the family and intimacy issues? Because a lot of black and brown families, a lot of intimacy issues, a lot of masculinity, which leads into a lot of intimacy issues. Is that the reason why they're eye avoidant, or is it trauma? Is it social anxiety and trauma, or is it autism? Is it maybe horrific depression they can't make eye contact? Where's the skills to like be with me as a person in the office? And for a while there, it was really tough and complicated. I remember one of the kids that you met recently, Spence, one of the homies, they're like, am I autistic, Nas? And I was like, nah, I don't think so. A couple years later, and after my dissertation, I'm like, you're autistic as shit.
I lied.
Shout out to your little one. I'm just gonna call you a little one.
A little one.
Shout out to your little one. So autistic.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, little.
Yeah. So autistic.
So autistic. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I just.
You know who you are.
Yeah, I told her, later on, but not when we were in school like 3-4 years ago. I've told her now, like, this is the thing. She's like, yeah, I know.
Oh.
It's like, I know I'm autistic. I'm like, yeah, okay, good. But it's tough. Every culture is so different. And here's the thing is like black and brown bodies will get diagnosed because like Amanda Seales, super aggressive in this thing. Super aggressive, a little bit louder, right? I'm not trying to get eaten alive right now, but she's louder, aggressive, comes off mean, comes off volatile.
That's her thing. Correct.
And so, but a lot of folks with the autism spectrum aren't really good at monitoring their tone of voice. So I got a couple boys that just yell at me. Hey, my coworker's like, you good now? I'm like, I'm good, man. Little punk ass boy, ain't gonna do shit now. And so he should be yelling. I'd be like, bro, you gotta chill, bro. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe she's got some tone regulation stuff. Also, it could be part of the culture too. But we'd love to label Black and brown folks borderline personality disorder, which is an emotional deregulation issue. One of the biggest things is like fear of abandonment. Every autistic person fits for fucking borderline personality disorder. I'm going to be real with you, especially if you're Black or brown, because we're not taught to regulate emotion, Spencer, and we just pop off like my dad does. Like he's like, all right, well, I'm going to kill you now. So,
No.
you know, I ain't going to argue anymore because you did. And then you start talking, I'm like, oh shit, dad's autistic as shit. And when he meets his threshold, boom. Also masculinity, being in Flint, being around the certain areas, being really protective masculinity helped him protect a lot of people. Then you go into the prison system, right? So you're not really taught these emotional intimacy and regulation issues.
Right.
But that's like pervasive, not just with my family, but all of them. My mom was the same way. Like just so many folks, they're aggressive. And so many folks that are Black and brown will be diagnosed bipolar or borderline. My mother was, everyone said she's bipolar. She's bipolar. She's bipolar. Well, she had a lot of trauma and she was borderline personality disorder for sure. I was told a lot of things that were happened to her as a child that were really gross and horrific that no child ever should happen to. And it was done to many of the children in that family. And so that fuck you up a lot, man. In the brain, worth, love, trust, intimacy. So it was really hard for her to regulate. And she took that out a lot. And that's what led to a lot of her alcohol related issues, many other different things, right? Not a lot of friends, right? You're like, oh, maybe she's autistic. Not a lot of friends. No, she was so toxic. It's just hard to be her friend. My half brother was diagnosed bipolar, which I feel like him was probably true. I feel like he probably actually was bipolar. Could have been personality disordered and a shit ton of trauma from all this stuff, but I feel like he was actually bipolar. But back to the point. It's her aggressiveness can come off like personality disorder. Everyone's going to say it's personality. I guarantee you, if I walked her in my office, 9 out of 10 is going to be like personality disorder. And as soon as someone cuts or like self-harms, right, they're like personality disorder. It doesn't have to be that. They could just be autistic, and that's the only way they can regulate is through some of these more harmful things, some of these more intrusive OCD, like obsessive, maybe stims. Working with this kid now. Love this kid. This kid just bought me a group Funko Pop and wrote me a letter, and like I was like, you son of a bitch.
To the moon.
I was crying during eating my fucking lunch today. Fucker. I'm going to send her an email tomorrow and be like, I'm now going to make you cry. Fuck you.
Right.
And I've told her so many times, like, you're so autistic sometimes. I don't think that she is, but she could be. She very well could be. But here's the thing. I know she's not borderline, but she feels borderline-y because there's so many different intricacies with the self-harm, suicidality, abandonment issues. I love you, I hate you type of vibes. But hers isn't I love you, I hate you, is I love you, oh my God, you're going to leave me, don't leave me, I feel like I've hurt you. And then it leads into the really bad spiral, which leads into the suicidality. And then it leads into this whole shame spiral after the friend has to help them. Where the borderlines is legit, you'll see it. I love you, I hate you. It's a lot of manipulation. My kid's not trying to manipulate anyone. They're just deregulating. They just deregulate so fast and it looks really toxic and fucked up. But that's because they're just terrified and scared. And so we've been working with this person over and over and over. And this is how we work with folks that are on the autism spectrum. We try to help them regulate their emotions through different coping skills, regulation techniques, which y'all can go Google. We've talked about in other podcasts. Then we start to build them up, their confidence, because of all the shame and guilt and abandonment that was happened from family members and the trauma, right? All of it. So we tried to build their identity back up. That way they don't always fall apart. Well, tell me one autistic person that doesn't feel like shit, that doesn't trust themselves, that doesn't have a good identity, that one that isn't anxious. Like we suffer from all those things. Some folks more though. Yeah. So you get this personality disorder shit, this emotional deregulation shit, and then you get this autism, and they're very co-aligned. But if they're black or brown, you're just going to say it's personality disorder or bipolar. If it's a little white boy, you're going to be like, oh, he's autistic. it's super fucked up on how racist it is and how gendered it is.
Yeah.
So like her definitely comes off personality disorder, maybe bipolar, violent, volatile, not willing to listen. She comes off to me as like aggressive. Be like, oh, well, that's the race because she's a black woman. Maybe it is because she's a black woman, thus she looks more aggressive. And her eyes are a little bit more buggy, which she looks more aggressive. But she's also louder, so it feels more aggressive. If she was a white girl, would I say that she was that aggressive? Would me and you feel a little different? It's the same question that Shannon Sharpe asked her. Was she a white girl? Would me and you act like, oh, no, she's chill? Possibly. I'll admit it, possibly. Possibly we would see her in a different tone. So she's right. Race affects all of these things. It affects the assessment when it comes to clinical practitioners. It affects the self-assessments because it's all written by white women or white dudes. And it's not including their culture and their hyper-focuses and specificities. It's not. It's based on white culture. It's not based on these other families or international kids or, immigrant kids. If we pivot back to her at the end, like they're super cool and chill, like they're loving on each other, right? They're inviting each other to more podcasts and shows. And you do see her like a really good kindness in her and like friendliness in her. But in that session, she brought in just a lot of trauma. Yeah. Well, all autistic folks got shit. We all got shit. There's that bullying, the awkwardness, the people have downput us, gaslit us, second guessed us. It's just so much that you bring in there, and then you're also black, then you're also a woman. It's going to be different. Her ma sounds like she was, I'm not sure if she's an immigrant, but she's definitely very much rooted in her culture and roots. So it's different.
Yeah.
So self-diagnosis can be pretty hard being black or brown, specifically if you're a cisgendered woman. If you're a transgendered woman, then it could be a little bit easier because that's another like marker, having the trans or non-binary identity. That's another marker that maybe you are, on the spectrum. So I feel like it's a little bit easier. It could get really confusing because what gender roles are you playing by? I think self-diagnosis is shit on by professionals because we don't want anyone just to believe that they're ADHD and like take meds inappropriately. We're scared that people are going to hurt themselves, Spencer. What happens if they try to take certain meds and they don't need it? What happens if they take anti-anxiety? They tell a doctor, hey, I'm bipolar. And they take anti-anxiety meds, Spence. Boom, that could shoot them into mania. Well, that's when people kill themselves, when they're in mania. Yeah. So we really rely on doctors, medical practitioners, making sure they're medicating kids and screening for everything.
Right.
Some folks don't want people to just self-assess and then act as a victim. Mm-hmm. Well, I got anxiety, so I can't do this. Well, I'm autistic, so I can't do this. And people aren't getting self-diagnosed or diagnosed so they can be omitted from things. Right. But that's the perception, is that everyone's in this victim thing or there's always something wrong with you. If the kid thinks that they got anxiety or like ADHD, well, there's probably something fucking wrong with them. So a normal kid is like, you know what? I can't fucking read.
Thank you for admitting that, Billy.
Yep. So is it a learning disability or is it ADHD or is it pure anxiety? Most therapists are going to say it's anxiety. But then you start looking at it and like, oh, maybe there's a little ADHD. Oh shit, maybe it's a little dyslexia. Maybe these classes are too fucking hard for you and it's none of the things and you're just terrified and you hate doing your fucking homework. Like Spencer's like, yep.
Yep, been through that.
Yep. It's very convoluted. It's so hard. So now you see why it's hard to want to validate folks with self-diagnosis, because it's hard for me, a trained practitioner who's also autistic, to make sure that it's correct.
Yeah. Also, I mean, we've had guests on who say it's so hard for them to even get a diagnosis from professionals. So it's like, of course you're going to self-diagnose because you can't get an answer from the professional.
So what's the point of waiting 4, 3, 5 months, or what's the point of spending 10 grand if it's going to?
It's just going to be inconclusive anyways.
Yep. So if you're right there at that borderline for a lot of those quizzes and exams, hey man, I mean, if you want to do it, go with it. Yeah. If it brings clarity to your life, to be real, diagnosis helps. Formal, informal, whatever. Pigeon, I don't give a fuck what type of diagnosis you get. It helps you understand yourself. So anything that helps you understand you is good. You understand what overstimulates you, what sensory issues you have, what type of people you need to be around. You understand your identities. Anytime there's really good introspection of who you are, the diagnosis or self-assessments are good because it helps you live a better life or more correct, aligned life with your morals, values, ethics, personality. So the assessments, the diagnostic criteria helps with that. So that's why folks are doing self-assessments, because they need to understand themselves. They're trying to understand themselves. They're not trying to be a victim. They're not trying to get out of something. They're not trying to make sure that, you don't have to wear those clothes because, I'm autistic. I got one kid like, Mom, back at St. Mary's. I'm like, the mom was autistic as shit. I told the girl, I said, you're autistic. And she loved wearing black, all black. And I was like, I want her to dress girly and dresses in pink. I was like, that's not your kid. Well, she only thinks she's autistic because of you. And, she's just trying to get out of shit. And she's manipulating you. I'm like, for real? She says, you think that this little white girl manipulating me? She might be manipulating your dumb ass. Your dumb ass. She's not manipulating me. FY, have you met your daughter? She looked like the motherfucker from Coming Out the Ring, the little girl coming out the ring. That bitch autistic.
Man.
I love that kid, man. That kid was awesome. And she finally got her mom to fucking back off. And so the mom finally had to come around and like, oh, okay. So maybe I do need to affirm her, validate her, and treat her. So Amanda was right. Amanda talked about they beat this autism shit out of you sometimes. And so you learn to mask, and then you get burned out, and then you get suicidal, and then you don't know who you are, and then you've never done anything that you've ever wanted to do. And now you've got a degree in a job that you fucking hate, and now you're miserable. Now you're like, darkness is my only friend. Yes. Self-assessments, I keep saying it, super fucking valid. For those of you that are on the pod, please go check out the screeners that we have. If you have questions, you're more than welcome to DM us or email us, and I can help guide you towards more materials. Or maybe we can find you a therapist. Right? Soon we're going to have a practice open. And I'll be able to take on folks who do this consultation stuff. I don't think I'm going to do this coaching thing that everyone else is doing, but maybe I'll help folks find resources, right? Maybe, yeah. We'll see. I'm glad that we got to talk about this because everyone needs to go do your research on yourself.
Yeah.
If you got a friend that's super spectrumy, talk to him about it. Hey, man, you autistic as shit. You ate Lego. You ate Legos, motherfucker?
They had an x-ray. It'd be a whole Millennium Falcon in your stomach.
Hey, man, my stomach's so fucked up, man. Goddamn Pepto-Bismol will be fucking me up, man. I love my job. I can't wait to open up this practice and just start working with autistic folks. And just living in that and helping people that are black and brown. It's getting ready to open. Again, I want to keep shouting out folks. And then Spence, I'll kick it to you too. Podcast is really starting to take off numbers-wise, statistically, Spence. We're getting more and more people that are downloading every pod. YouTube's almost up to 8,000. The Instagram's popping off. We got a whole line of guests coming on. We got about 20 guests lined up for the summer.
Yes, sir.
It's about to be nuts. I invited one of our boys, our followers, to come back on. Keyshawn, just because he's awesome. I say, hey, man, I ain't going to charge you to promo your shit. You've been following us. You bought merchandise, right? You come on, and you were awesome at asking and moderating the fucking podcast for us. Like, you come back on the show. Yeah. I've shot a few emails out to older people that did some requests. I said, hey, we're going to do some interviews, people, 15 minutes, and we're going to see, are you cool or not? So now we're going to weed folks out to see if they fit the vibe. And if they do, we're going to talk to them. I've had a lot of guests recently send me to new guests to have on. So we got some clout now. I'm really asking y'all to, if you got people that you want us to talk to, please email me or Spencer or DM us. I will shoot them a message. Spencer will shoot them a message.
Yeah.
We got some swag now, and that's because of y'all listening. I love all of you special string cheese eating motherfuckers. I can't believe you still listen to me and Spencer, but you do, and you're having fun and you're laughing, and y'all hit me up, and I got friends that watch and they hit me up and they're laughing. So, yeah, I just deeply love all of you. Spence, you want to put any Parmesan cheese on this potato?
Shout out to Shannon Sharpe and Amanda Seals for even letting us have this conversation in the first place.
For
right?
real. I'm so glad that she brought it up. It's magnificent, especially for Black folks.
Yes. So shout out to both of them because without it, probably wouldn't be having this conversation in this dialogue for autism.
No,
right? So
you're right. No matter how it ended up, doesn't matter because it opens up the dialogue that autism isn't this one thing, which is like this disabling, nonverbal type of There's so many different versions. There's so many creatives, musicians, everyone that's on Instagram and TikTok that's like got a lot of followings and they're autistic. Just accept it. They're all autistic.
Yeah. Just put just say you're autistic in your bio because you are.
Just say it.
Just say it.
Say it.
All right. And with that, I'm Spencer. That's Nas. Different spectrums. Okay.
All right, everyone. Remember, take care of yourselves and much love.
Or don't.
I fucked it up. That's up to you.
Asshole.
There's the deal.
All you had to do was ask those.
Hey, remember to take care of yourselves.
Or don't.
That's up to you.
Jackass.
I did it. All right. Tism boys.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Later. Potato. Burrito style.
Let me put that blue cheese on you.
Oh my God. I'm done. Say bye.